Okay, all right, thank you. Let's start with Bonita Process Designer overview. Now, Bonita Process Design, it's an MVC paradigm. It's a model view controller based way of designing your processes. Now, where does model comes, view comes, and controller comes in your design is a model would be a business data or process data. So this would be a variables that is transitioned across different process flow nodes from step one to step n, and all those transitions are saved into some variables that can be reused and can be stored in the database and fetch for the metrics, etc. That would be your model layer. And in the views would be your user forms. We have seen how UI designer looks yesterday, and we have seen all the widgets like quickly, right? That's where your view comes in. And the controller would be your core of your process, and connectors, which will be for you to connect with external systems. And connectors includes a script types, REST type of connectors, web, and we have seen like there are a lot of connectors Bonita actually provides in the community edition as well, right? And any elements within the process that will be controlled using a process flow. Okay, that would be your general design, how they have implemented this particular design. Next, we have seen quickly, like yesterday, what is Bonita Studio looks like, and we have seen what is a menu bar. They call it a school bar. So this, the top section would be your menu bar. And two, this would be your canvas. So where you can drag and drop the things from something called palette, right? And we have a process flow node properties. So when you click on each one, this particular below one is context sensitive in the sense when you click on the node, that particular parameters will be updated in the bottom. So you can edit information for that specific node. And the four is a project explorer. This is an Eclipse. Bonita Studio is built on Eclipse. So it will have more or less a similar look as an Eclipse. Okay. Now let's get back to this one. So this is 7.11.4 community edition I'm using here. We will quickly design a small process to so that you will understand like how does things work within the Bonita. Okay, I'm going to click on this new diagram. You can click here or you can go to the file and click on a new diagram. Okay, so as we have seen yesterday, we know that it will automatically provide us with the start and with the task. So let's continue with this. I'm gonna name this particular pool. Pool is just a placeholder where you will put your process normally, and pool can have multiple lanes to it. Lanes are generally used to segregate your workflow to be done by a specific type of team or a specific member. In the sense, if it's only one person, then it will be in that lane like that. So it is just a segregation. For the overall flow, it doesn't matter whether you have lanes or not. Okay. Now here by default we have a pool, and they have provided one lane called employee lane. Okay, let's customize this now. I'm going to click this. As I said, this below one is a context sensitive. You may bring it up or down based on your need. I'm going to change this as, let's say, my bookstore process, something like that. So it won't be not a great complex one. So it will be simple. You need to click save, only then it will be updated. Now, when you click outside this one, right, then you can update the whole diagram name itself. You see that my diagram, you can also update that. So generally in the client location, you will be seeing teams using both the diagram name and pool name as same, just to avoid any discrepancies like something like that. Or you can also store it something like this too. You can say this is my bookstore process, and you can name the pool as pool, something like this too. So if you do edit here, it will automatically update this one which we edited earlier. I'm going to do that. Right, you see that it updated to pool, and the process is this. So this is also a way which teams use it generally. Okay, now let's get back to this process. I have a start node. You can change it to any other understandable name for your process. You can say that, okay, my bookstore pool has started, like that. You can rename it here. As I said, it's context sensitive. Whenever you click an specific activity or an event within the process, it will update below things. You see that once it's in the user task, you can get the properties that are related to the user task. Now you can quickly change that too. You see a small wrench icon here. You can update the tasks to any of these below formats. Okay. We're going to look at call activity as well in this today's class. Okay, let's start with step one. Now, for any process, you need to have certain data, right? To transition from one step to other step to collect some information so that you can make some decision in your next points like that. So for that, you have two ways to define your variables in Bonita. That would be using your business data models, which would be like a global variables that can be accessed across different instances. And other one is process variables. This would be like variables that are within this instance only. Okay, so I'll show you both. Let me start with the business data model. So this is 711. So they have added few things, UI changes here and there. So you might not be seeing this in 784 like that, but end of the day, it's the same process. If you don't see this one, define business data model here, the other way to do is go to your development, and here in the business data model, you can click on define it. This and this are both same. It's just the ease of use. They have updated that, okay, over the time. I'm going to click this one. So it populates me with something like this. When you start, you will not be seeing much here. I have created few other processes, so there are so many business objects already here. Okay, but let me create from scratch. Okay, let me start this one. So it pops up something like SCOM company model one. This you know, right? If you are a Java guy, you know how packages are structured in the reverse format, right? Let me put bookstore and I'll put books maybe. Okay, and oh, I think I already have it. Okay, let me delete this. Okay, books maybe. Okay, and as this is a pojo now in this you can add attributes. This will be internally automatically provided you with getters and setters to it. Okay, like it's a pojo. Now a book should have a book name, a type string, and let's say it also has something called price, and let's keep it simple and let it be like an integer for now. Okay, once you have it, other thing you need to make sure is business data models has to be deployed. Only then you can access within the process. So the way you do it is you click on deploy here. So you need to do save and deploy. Okay, so it said that it deployed successfully and it's asking us to log back in if you want to use it. Okay, for now we don't need to do that. So it's already saved. To quickly show you what is this all about, all your business objects will be stored in the form of XML. That is this one. If you want to see what is inside it, you just need to click this one. So this is all what we have created, and this is the one which we created just now, and it is transformed into something like this. Even your BPMN is also looks like an XML only in the end of the day. Okay, and the process engine, based on the different tags, it knows that you are talking about one activity or other, etc. So the engine is intelligent enough to understand or convert this whatever you have designed as a diagram into an XML, and it understands what's the next step, etc. Okay, well, let's get back to our process. Now here we are here. Now we have defined a business model, but we have to use that in our process. So for that, let me create a variable. Let's say it's a book, create object, something like that. Okay. And it automatically picked the one. If it didn't pick, you need to select it from different data objects you have. So right now it picked, so I'm gonna keep it as is. So the first thing is done, business data model. Okay. Now, a user task generally requires a user to interact with that form and write some inputs to it, right? So for that, we will create something called form. So now in the execution tab here, you see an option called form. Now once I click here, right now there is no form. Okay. If I click on this one, it will generate a form. But we want the tool to do things for us, right? We don't want to do things manually. Let the tool do the thing. So for that, we will do something called contract. Contract would be your initial things that are to be inputted by your users and can be collected back to your process, something like that. So these are like your mandatory things that you want user to enter into that form like that. Okay. Now I click on this add from data. So it suggests me based on different data variables I have. So right now I have only one variable, which is book data object. So I'm going to click on this next. So it says that, okay, this one has two attributes, book name and book price. We want to add it. You can also deselect and select the ones which you want. No, you don't want everything to be shown to the user in the form, right? You want to get inputs from certain things from the user. You can select that. Okay, right now I want both. So let me do finish. So it's just telling me that the inputs will be generated automatically. So something like that. Okay, let me do okay for that. Now it did. What it did is it created an object of type complex that in the sense it has more than one attribute inside it. So this is the same structure we have defined. Now it also did one more thing, which is in the operation section. Now this is where you get the data from the form. So once user submits the form, you need to send the data back to the process so that you can use it and do certain things in your process, right? To move it to the next step or to make a decision in your process, you need that input, what user has entered. So those things are again stored back into your data object. Now the key difference between how you store in the variables versus your business data objects is you will use setters for business data objects. But for the normal variables, you will directly assign it. What do I mean by that? Let me click on add just to show you. Now here, this is your normal way it will show you. Whenever you use a business data object like this, you'll get an option like this. Click on takes value of. Now here, say use a Java method. Now it will populate all the methods that you can use for that particular data object. Now here it can be a set, right? Set and or you can do equals, something like that. Now at this point we want to set something, right? Let me do set name like this. Now it's a set book name. Now the code has to extract that from that object. Now let's see what they wrote. Now this is your first connector you are seeing so far. So far you haven't seen different connectors, right? So the one which you're gonna see is a script type of connector, okay? I clicked on this pencil, it opened some widget and it says script, okay? And you see the code. Now, if you're familiar with Java, this looks very odd, like what is this? Just small text with question mark and all. Now this is Groovy. Groovy internally at runtime will be converted into Java. Groovy is little dynamic. Yeah, you can also use Java if you want, but Groovy is very simple to write. Now here what it says is, given the input of the data object, if there is a value, then take the value of the book name. If not, just return empty like that. So this is what this line means. And it is, you can avoid return statement if there is only single line in Groovy. So normally will be using like this, like return something, right? But you can avoid that as well if because it's a Groovy, it understands that the first line you mean that you want to return that. Okay, that's a quick one. Okay, I'm going to talk about scripts later or connectors later. Okay. Now, so that's how you will set the value to the data object. Now, so far good, but there is no form. Like now, do I need to design this form by myself? No, not necessary. So what Bonita does is based on the contracts you have defined, it will understand, it will try to put the things in the form. Okay. So now here we have book name of type text and price of integer. So it understands that this could be input types and of type text and integer. So integer would be in your, it would be a text box with some values which will be of type integers, and book name will be string like that. Now let's see what it designs for us. I'm going to click on this particular small icon. It says edit. I'm going to click it. Let's see what it does. Now you can see that it automatically designed this particular form for us, and I'll quickly click on preview to see how it looks. See that? So this is our data object and the name and price, and it's of type int. So you can add values plus or minus. Okay. Now I haven't done anything into the form. It has taken automatically from the content. So this is like one big advantage to design your forms quickly using your Bonita. Now, can I edit these things? Yes, of course you can. You can click on that particular one and you can update that. And you can add any HTML elements in here. It allows you these many widgets. So if you want to add any other things, let's say I want to add one more checklist, you can put it here. Right? It's all straightforward. Now below this, there are a few things happen. How is data being fetched from Bonita process variables or business data models to your form, and how is it sent back to your process? So it comes with few variables. Okay, that would be your task ID. That is your ID of your task when you run that instance. So it's an URL parameter. So it's fetching from the URL. So for example, if this is a URL, there is some ID here, then it is fetching that ID. Okay, and it is fetching this particular business data object, which is a business data model, right? In our process, it is able to fetch it using this API. And for that, it requires context. It is fetching from this. So these are all interlinked. It is done automatically for you. So you are not doing anything. But if you want to update things, you may choose to do it by clicking here. Now it allows different types of it, and you can quickly search different variables. So this is like quick view how your form has been designed. Okay, I'm gonna switch back to the process again. Okay, so cool. So I don't like this form name. So let me just rename it to um, user book, something like that. Your wish, you can choose it. Okay, once you save it, it automatically reflects here. So you're good. Now to see that it is waiting, I'm gonna use an event. Let me use timer. Okay. So timer event, as it suggests, it will take certain time or waits for certain time. Once it's expired, the time is done. Only then it moves forward. So let me put some timer of a minute. So here you can use a fixed date, means like if you want to wait for a certain date, or you can use something called duration. I'm going to use duration, and let me put 1 minute. Once you do that, you can click generate duration expression. It will automatically generate. What it does is it will just convert the minute into a long value, 60,000 milliseconds, and put it into the long. That's it. It's not doing much there. Okay. So it's going to wait for 1 minute and then the process ends. Okay, I'm going to quickly validate here and see if it's complaining anything. Okay, it says that I'm missing some form. Okay, I'm going to click that. Okay, I'm going to stop here and ask you guys, are you guys okay so far? You're following me, or you have any questions?
Yes,
Yes.
I'm following.
Okay, you guys are following. Cool. Okay, so what is this validation status says that, so every process requires certain input. It's not mandatory, but generally when you go into the client, right, they want to initiate a process with certain data. Now you need a way to capture it, right? For that, you will design something called instantiation form. So this is a pre-form before your process starts. So you will collect certain data, and that will be your input to your process to start. Now here in our process, we are not doing much complex things here. So I'm going to just put no form. Okay. And the overview page is also similar one. What it does is normally they will use BDMs in this overview page so that if they want to look different type of views in the page, they will do that. But in our case, we are not doing that much. Okay. So I'm going to just put it no. And let me do validation status again. Now see, it's clear. Okay, let me save this and let's try to run it. All right, so this is our form. It automatically logged with someone, Walter Bates. You don't know who is he, but we're gonna talk it a little bit. So this Walter Bates is like a default user, one of the many default users that comes once you install Bonita soft. They all belong to a virtual or fictional organization called Acme. So it's like they want to mimic a general organization structure. And Walter Bates here is our main person. Whenever you start a process, by default, it is assigned or logged in as Walter Bates. Okay. Right now, I'm going to take this. So you need to acquire this task for you to complete it. Okay. I'm going to say, let's say book one, and the price is 10 something. I'm going to click submit. Now for the engine, the process is completed. But for you as a designer, you don't know what's happening next, right? You can quickly go to administrator view and click on cases. And you see that there is a case. So in Bonita, whenever a process instance is started, it is called cases. And you'll have two tabs. One is open case, that means currently running instances. And the other one is archive, which like anything is completed. Now in your subscription view, you will, in subscription version of your Bonita soft, you will have a way to see where the task is currently waiting. So you will see a diagram, just like this diagram. You will see it here, an image. If you click on that image, it will show you like on which step it is on. But in the community edition, they have not given it, okay? Now I click on this node and see here, it says my done task is step 1. But the thing is, I'm not able to see the data which I have entered. So that is a big difference between your case variables or pool variables versus your business data models. Okay, now if I want to see the data, how do I do that? Okay, now you can do that from here. Click on development, and here in the business data model, you do something called browse data. And this is automatically getting the data from the H2 database, which is your runtime database for Bonita by default. You may change it to Postgres or anything. You need to update that configuration. So these are all the business data objects I have, but the one which I'm interested right now is books object, right? This one? No, not this one. I think it's new. System survey. Yeah, this one. Okay, so this is what we entered, book name and book price. This is all cool. Okay, I am seeing the data in the table, but as a user, I want to see it on the form. How do I do it? Yes, you can do that too. Now, let me add one more user task here. So this user task doesn't do anything. It will just display the things. Okay. Um, I said I'll also show you call activity, right? So let me change this to call activity, and we will see that one too. So call activity, as the name says, suggests that it will call certain process, right? So here we're gonna invoke a process. Normally in the client locations or client processes, what they do is they will have one big flow that will be your main process that will have all the steps that required to achieve a certain business goal. Now each step can have multiple sub steps inside it. So you will have main process untouched most of the time, but only your child processes or the called processes will be updated mostly. So they lay out the main process in the beginning and modify the sub processes later. Okay. Let me put it as call activity. And for it has to call certain process, right? We need to let it know what to call. So at this point, we don't have any process for us. So let me create one more. And I'm going to put simple task here. And this task would be, let me rename this as my child process. Child pool. Oops, I did not save it. Okay, and I'm gonna rename this to child process. All right, and this one we're gonna just show the form. So this time I'm not gonna create any contract. I'm just clicking on this pencil. So it tried to give us some details, like it is trying to fetch the name of the task. and automatically from this. So right now there is no contract, so it is unable to provide us anything. So now it's our decision to do what to do. So now I'm going to fetch the business data model. So you see this icon here. I think this one is the one, right? Yeah. Let me click this and I want to find the name and price. Okay. Click control. Okay. So it automatically picked this. Now, this is what I was saying. You can view the instance even though it is not running, right? You can click on preview and see that it automatically fetched the data. So this is the BDMs. BDMs are generally used for you to have a metrics like that. So now in our case, if you want to know how many books sold or something, you can view that here. Before even I started this process, it is automatically fetching the existing data. This is where your BDMs actually comes into the picture. Okay, so right now it doesn't do much. I'm gonna click it as child form. Okay, now we have our child process ready. And let me give you information. And here. All right, so now I want to say which process to call. I might have so many. That's the one. Now, now there are cases where you want to dynamically invoke a child process. You can have n number of child processes. Now for this call activity, you want to do dynamically call certain process, not every time child process. You can do that. So when it allows you to do that here, if you click on this edit, it gives you a similar widget we have seen earlier. You click on script and update that variable. You can put as many conditions as you want, and you can write Java code here. And only thing is the return type should be your string. The few things happening, we are coming back to this widget again. So I'm gonna tell the things, okay? If you want to quickly access all the variables within your process, you need to click this and it will provide you all the list. So we have only one variable, which is book data object. So if you want to do something with it, you can do that. You always select from this drop down. Once you type something, it will not know, okay? If you think it's a valid variable and your Bonita widget is currently showing error, what you need to do is you need to click on this. So it will fetch all that valid things here, okay? And you need to click and add. Only then it is added to your during your deployment process, okay? If not, it will think that it's a string and it will fail in your process. This is like most common mistake which like freshers do, because they think that the value is right because the variables are there, but the widget is not able to figure it out. So always you need to click on automatic dependence, then sys resolution. So it will give you the list of the variables, you select it and add it. Okay, only then it understands that, okay, this particular thing is actually a variable in your process like that. Okay. Bonita also provides you something called within the ones, if you want to get the process instance ID information or activity instance ID, root process instance ID. Okay, there are so many keywords here. What are all these things? Okay, I'm going to explain a few things. The process definition ID is the ID of your process. Okay, once you install it. Let me quickly show that to you. So I'm going to have this process. I'm in the administrator view here. Click on process and I click on this my bookstore. Click on more. You see that this is the process ID. Okay, if you want to fetch that ID by, if you for some reason in your process, you can get that from the inbuilt APIs of Bonita, which is process definition. In the similar way, you can get the root process instance ID. As I mentioned earlier, you will have a child process, a parent process, and all. If you want to get like the main process ID, here in our case, my bookstore process ID, then you need to say root process instance ID. If you want to get the current process ID, here, if you are in the child process, then it will give you child process ID. If you are in the my bookstore process, it will give you that ID. Whenever you say root, it is like your parent, and the process is the current. Okay, and the activity instance ID is like each task here have its own ID. So if you want to get the ID of it, then you can fetch that too. Okay. And this is your data object, any data objects which you have. So it has inbuilt things here, and you may also write your own custom code. So how you add it is, once you click on the process, go to this wrench icon here, configure, and here in the dependencies, you may add if you want. Okay, you can choose, or you can import any external jars into your process. So that is also available for you. Okay, that's quick intro. Okay, let me click on this. Okay, child pool. I want to see if it goes to the right pool or not. I just double click on this. It takes me to that pool. Okay, we are good. Now let's try to run this again and see what happens. We know the first one is book name and price. Let's give this 20 and I click on submit. Now you see that we have a child process, book information, and it's a BDM. It is able to fetch both the records, right? If you want to quickly see the, sorry, duplicate, see the instance, you can go to administrator view, BPM, cases, and this is our case. Click on it. You see that it says step 1 is done and call activity is executing and the current task is ready, which is book information. That is what we see here, right? Confirm it, it's done. Now it's not really done because we have a timer of 1 minute. Once that is done, then it is completed. Now how does a completed instance look? Click on archived case and we need to wait for a minute to commit. Okay, let's take some other one, it doesn't matter. Click this. Now it will list all the steps here has been completed and it will tell the state has completed. Okay, so you guys are good so far. Any questions?
No question. This call activity is similar to the sub-process in JBPM, right?
Yes. So if you want to invoke any other process, then you will use this particular activity. Now in this activities section, you have one more thing called event subprocess. I will touch on it in the coming videos. But the difference between this and this is an expandable one, right? Like this, you can put inside this process. And the thing is, you cannot use normal. This one is called no event or none event type of stuff. These are all the other events. Now you have to use certain event, only then the process can be used. And you can end as usual. Okay, it's moving too much. Okay, you can also add another process within your process. That would be your event subprocess. Okay, I'll touch upon it later. Okay, now let's get back to the PDF. Where is my PDF? Yeah. Okay, we talked about it. Let's talk about gateways. This is the most important one. I want to spend next 10 minutes on this. Right, for any process, it won't be straightforward every time, right? You want to make certain decisions within your process. So you have certain special type of nodes within your process that will be your gateways. But in Bonita gateways, they're very simple. We have only 3. If you compare to any other BPMNs, this is like very less. If you think about PAM or Camunda or any other BPM, you have more than 3. You have conditional gateways, you have event-based gateways like that. But here, we have only 3, just simple. So what are these? The first one is parallel gateway. It's an AND type of gateway. So see the simple diagram here. Whenever a step 1 and step 2 is completed, only then step 3 comes. If you put the same to the opposite side, that means it will spawn those many tasks. If the same gateway is present here, that means it will spawn step 1 and step 2 at the time. So a parallel AND gateway, all inputs must be received before the process can continue. Okay. So here in this case, what I'm saying is if step 1 is completed, it will wait here till the step 2 is completed. Okay, no condition can be put in the output. So this is not a conditional type of gateway. It is just for you to what do you say that converge or diverge in your process. If you want to spawn multiple tasks in a parallelly, then you will use these kind of gateways. The next is an exclusive gateway. It's called XOR gateway. The design must ensure that only one input will reach the gateway. So what XOR does is in a normal design, in normal BPMN, if you have multiple paths to come in, then there is only one output to it, and it's based on certain condition. Then you will use XOR gateways. And inclusive is like a combination of both. You will have it will spawn two tasks like here, but it is also conditional. Now, it is your distinction to make. You can use inclusive and exclusive together, but generally, when you in the BPMN world, if you are using XOR gateways like exclusive, it is assumed that it will have only one output to it. In inclusive, if you are using it, that means it can have multiple outputs to it. Okay, I'll quickly show you the demo on this because we understood how to draw a process. So I'm gonna not do that. Okay, I will just click on the ones which I have designed. This one. Okay, I'll run through all the things quickly. So this is a pool, and you have start, and you have a task, and there is a gateway. This is called diverging gateway because the path is diverged, and this is converging gateway because they converge. Whenever you have a diverging gateway, it is best practice to have a converging gateway. Now you can avoid it and you can put individual paths by itself, but generally it is not recommended, but you can do it. Okay. Now, just to show you that the converging gateway waits till this particular, both the tasks are done. I have kept a timer. So we have seen how to do the timer. Let me reduce this timer to, uh, reduce it to 30 seconds maybe. Okay, so that it will be faster. I'm gonna click save. Now, once I run it, it should just do step one, and step one has nothing, I think so. Yeah, just nothing, just to show you that it is done, and it will wait in the gateway. Okay, we'll see what happens. All right, there are no user tasks to it. We need to go to the cases to see it, BPM cases, and we have this one. So step one is done, diverging gateway is done, step three is done, which is, so step one is done, diverging gateway is done, step three is done. So it is waiting on the timer, and you see that the process did not end because till the timer expires, it will wait, and then step two is done. Only then the instance is completed. So I think 30 seconds should do. Yeah. So you can see that step one, diverging gateway, step three, step two, and then converging gateway. And you won't see the events. This is one thing you need to notice, that in the done task, you generally not see event types like start, end, like those things. You won't see it. You'll see only the activities. Okay. Any questions here for the parallel gateway?
No.
Okay. Let's see the XOR. Okay, the way I just put it, if you are still not getting it, I just clicked this one and dragged it and added those things. Okay, it's just drag and drop, nothing much. Now XOR, as I suggested, it should have a condition to it. Now I have designed a path like this. It reads something, and it never goes to this path because I think I set this as false. Let me see, return true. Okay, now how do I write conditions is like this. When you click on this path, you spawns two things here, right? This path and this path. Now, when you click on this line, the flow line, then this is where you can write the condition. You can either write expression or a decision table. Now, it's not that great decision table in Bonita. I would suggest don't use it at all until unless you really want to use decision table. It's not that great, I would say. My personal experience use expressions for it, simple too, right? So here I think I'm using certain business data object and I'm checking the value of that is there, then true, then false, if not false. So this is all you need is a boolean type and true or false for the condition to get it. Okay, so that's what I did. I'll quickly show you the business data object also. Proposal data object text check proposal. Okay. Okay, I think it's not there. Maybe I will not be able to run this one because this object is not there. I've been moving this in different versions of my Bonita. I have so many versions with me. So not everything has that. But just think that once I run this, you will have a form. And once the user uh, approves it, only then it moves this path. If not, it goes this path. But by default, because this is always true, it goes this path. I will try to run, but I think it will fail. Let me give a try to it. Okay, it was able to pull the form. And here, I think I'll put test. And this is what is agreement approved or not. If I don't check, that means it's false. So I think it should go to step 3, step 4, and 10 minutes timer. Let me try that. Okay, it's all good. Okay, so it seems like it's working. Somehow the PDMs are already deployed and it's able to work. So no surprises there. So we clicked on start and user has given certain input and he has not agreed or approved. So that's why it went this path, step 3, step 4. It's gonna wait for 10 minutes. We don't have that much time. So let me rerun one more instance to see the positive scenario as well. I'll put test 2 and this time I'll agree. So expectation is it should end. So I think there should be no case. Yeah. So is this one 816? Yeah, this is the latest. It's done. So it went to reads and rates proposal and is customer approved. This too, and it's done. Now you see that I'm using a terminate type of end. Now this is the absolute end of my process, so I have used it. And you may also have different paths in your process. So right now here in step 3, if you certain thing, maybe it's a user task and there is some other approval step again. And if users says, no, I don't approve. And if you want to abort that instance, then you'll spawn some other thing. And you generally put a gateway here. Now, Bonita also allows you to not use gateways. Okay, you can write conditions directly on it. I told you, right? BPM Bonita allows you to do certain things which are not BPM and standards, but you can do that. So you may use an expression here and write the condition just like before. Okay, to quickly show you what a decision table looks like, I'm going to click on this, use decision table, and edit decision table. Now it's not much as it said, not great. Interface here to add a row, and then you need to click on this add condition. And if there is any condition, let's say proposal data object, and click on this and you change it to script and question mark dot I think agreement, that is our truth condition. Then the take this transition. If not, default is don't take the transition. We are writing for this one. So you need to update and then finish. See, it's the same condition. So proposal object dot agreement, then take this transition. What does it mean is whenever it's an S, that means it's an agreement approved and goes the direction. If not, no. So it's not great thing. You can do the same in the expression. So I will suggest you to use expressions over decision tables. In case if you are wondering which one to use, you need to use I would prefer expression over that. But expressions gives you more flexibility, and you will have control over the code compared to the decision tables here, at least in Bonita side, Bonita world. Okay, and finally we're gonna look at the inclusive gateway. Just this one. So I said the inclusive gateway works both like your parallel and XOR. Here you see that it is spawning these many things, but conditionally. So here I have set this path to never go. Only these two paths will go. Again, it is based on certain expression. Here this time I'm just setting it to return true and not much there. And this one too, I think it's return true, not much here. Yeah. So only the thing which I did is in the previous one I wrote a script, and here it's a constant. So constant you can write anything. So it is like a constant, just like a constant. But in script it's a little more dynamic. If you want to fetch certain data and then you want to evaluate and finally return that, then you will use script. We did not talk about parameters. So when we are talking about connectors, I will talk about the parameters like REST connector, those things. Variables, you know, right? If you have any process level variables or business level variables, you can use it. Okay, and run. As expected, it will just go to step 2, step 4, and complete it. There are no user tasks, so it will be very quick. It will be just completed. I think it's done. Oh, it's not. Okay, step one, one diverging, step 4. Oh, okay, there was a 30-second timer here, so that's why it. Okay, step 1, step 4 is done. Step 2 will be done, and then it's done. Let me refresh. Okay, I think, what is the length of the timer I kept? 30 seconds only. Yeah, it's done. So just to show you that it's waiting, I just kept it, and also show you that converging gateway inclusive one works like parallel. So till all the inputs come to it, all the truth conditions. So here we have two truth conditions coming to it. It's waiting. So I think that's why I kept the timer there, to show you that it works both like your parallel as well as your exclusive gateway. Okay, any questions here? And I've touched multiple things, so just want to quickly get your vote of yes or no. Any doubts?
No question.
So you're good, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm done for today. I'll just quickly recap what we talked today, like in a brief minute. We looked about what is MVC paradigm of Bonita. We have looked how a designer looks, and we have quickly seen a process, how to use business data models and create a generator form automatically. And we have seen how to extract the values which user has submitted, write some script, quick script, and we have looked at different gateways and a quick demo of all those three web processes. All right. So, do you guys want to class tomorrow?
Uh, I'm okay to have class
I'm
tomorrow.
okay with the class.
Okay. So
Yeah, I'm
everyone.
okay too.
Okay. Yeah. Okay then. So you want early or how do you want the class?
Early better.
Let me know the time in the chat, okay? So that I will prepare the slides accordingly, okay? All right, I think you're good to go today. I left you 7 minutes early.
Thank you.